The reason why I thought there was a chance Sam Darnold might be back is because, like you said, the players know, the players saw this is a win now team. And of course, they were interested in bringing him back, but he had a better opportunity and more money in Seattle. So we know the situation now. You laid it out there. 22-year-old JJ McCarthy is the starting quarterback going to be this year. We had Josh Metellus on the show a few weeks ago. He had all the right things to say about JJ, but your eyes, you're there every single day. What have you seen from him so far? Is he ready? Is it a work in progress? Obviously, the players around him, not many young quarterbacks get what he has, but is he ready for this moment?
Yeah, there's a lot of different layers to that because I think, in terms of his confidence, in terms of his preparation, and just how his teammates respond to him, everything looks like somebody who's a franchise quarterback. Like, just even the way that McCarthy handles a practice, or the way that he walks out under center in a preseason game and just takes control of the offense, gets everybody lined up, drops back, gets rid of the football. Like, all of that stuff has checked boxes of, does he pass the initial eye test, the initial smell test of, does this look like a real starting quarterback in the league? And then as we pick apart the layers, there are areas that I've been very impressed with him in practice. Number one is his arm strength. It's interesting to go back and look at some of the reports that questioned whether he had a strong enough arm. And from what I've seen after watching Sam Darnold previously, who has a monster arm, I think velocity wise, JJ McCarthy has no issues whatsoever. And I think you're going to see a lot of tight window throws where he is lasering the ball in there. I think maybe people forgot that JJ McCarthy was playing at age 20 through a lot of that season when he was winning the national championship with Michigan, and has grown a lot since then, and grown as a thrower a lot since then. At the same time, this is a guy that only threw about 717 college passes, and then comes to the NFL, plays one preseason game, has one training camp, gets hurt, and then now is back in his second camp. There's just not a lot of footballs that have been thrown in comparison to a Sam Darnold, who showed up here, even though he hadn't had a ton of success, years and years of development, working off the field, growing his body, mastering different throwing techniques. McCarthy just doesn't have that time on task, they like to call it, or just the sheer number of hours of doing this that someone like Sam Darnold had. And I think you see that at times. One of the things is just accuracy, touch on the football. Sometimes you have to, they've talked a lot about layering, where you're putting it up over a linebacker, but in front of a safety. And that touch on the football is inconsistent in practice. The red zone has been very inconsistent in practice. And I think that's because there's so many really fast moving parts. There's a lot of people in a very small area, and he's getting used to that. So I think at the beginning of the season, they're going to try to do things to mitigate some of the issues with just rustiness of not playing a lot and adapting to the pressure. And then the offense will start to open up as they go on through the season. That's even kind of how it worked with Sam Darnold last year. But you mentioned the supporting cast. It can't be separated from the potential for JJ McCarthy's success. I mean, we saw Josh Dobbs come into a game with this team with no preparation and won. We saw Nick Mullins throw for 400 yards. Let's not forget, Sam Darnold was considered one of the biggest busts of the last decade, and then wins 14 games. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell, and you add Aaron Jones to that, TJ Hawkinson. Addison will be suspended for the first 3 games, but he'll be a big part of this as well. It's about as good of a supporting cast as you can find. So I think the message to McCarthy is, keep the train on the tracks. Don't try to be a hero, and just throw the ball where it's supposed to go, and these guys will make plays for you. And so far in training camp, I think that's looking like it's going to work, except Justin Jefferson hasn't practiced much because of a mild hamstring strain. And that is a little bit of a concern of mine, of those two getting on the same page from the outset of the season when they haven't had a lot of training camp. But overall, I guess the way that you would sort of encapsulate everything I said would be, do I feel like at this moment they have any regrets about letting Sam Darnold go, not franchise tagging him? My answer would be no. I think that they right now are very much on track with where they wanted to be at this point, and there's still some ways to go before week 1.
Well, I'll get to the supporting cast that he has when it comes to the weapons here in a second. But I think The most important thing of year for JJ might just be the offensive line, and the Vikings invested a ton there this offseason. They signed Will Fries to a big 5-year deal. They brought in Ryan Kelly also from Indianapolis. They drafted Donovan Jackson in the first round. They have their bookend tackles with Christian Darrisaw coming back from his knee injury and Brian O'Neill over at right tackle. Are you seeing tangible improvements in the protection and in the run game of those potential 5 there for the start of this season?
Yeah, when you say the word potential, that's what comes to mind for me because when you lay it out on paper, it should be one of the better offensive lines in the league. I don't think it can quite compete with a team like the Eagles at their best and most healthy that, dominated the league last year, but Will Fries adds something that they have not had in a while, which is a violence to his game. Over the last few years, it's been a lot of hanging on for dear life at the right guard position, at either guard position, really. Throwing Dalton Reisner in there and just kind of hoping, or drafting someone like Ed Ingram that did not work out. They end up trading him to the Houston Texans and making a big investment in the left guard position with a first round pick, somebody in Donovan Jackson that played left tackle last year, which I think speaks to his athletic profile that he was one of the more athletic guards coming out. But there are questions here with this offensive line. I mean, starting with Ryan Kelly, who I think can be the most valuable player, not named Justin Jefferson on the team because of the connection with JJ McCarthy and how complicated defenses are. But Kelly has had issues staying on the field for 17 games over the last few years. Fries is coming back from a very serious leg injury and did not participate in OTAs or minicamp and had to have a little bit of a slower ramp up in training camp. So is he going to be hitting the ground running in week one, or is there going to be a ramp up period for him? From Donovan Jackson, it looks like a normal rookie where when he's going up against Hargrave and Allen and Harrison Phillips, he's getting pushed back sometimes. I mean, there is NFL strength that I think no college can prepare you for. And we've seen that at times. And there's NFL complexity that no college can prepare you for. And there's been a lot of rookie moments, I think, so far with Donovan Jackson, but it's hard to project how that's going to come along through the season. And then with Christian Darrisaw at left tackle, he tore his ACL last year in the middle of the season. I believe that was week 8. And he's just coming back from that, just getting into the 11 on 11. So is he going to be ready for week 1 against the Chicago Bears? Or is that going to take a couple of weeks? So even though I think on paper it looks like it should be great, at the very beginning of the season, is it going to be its peak? Is it going to be at its best? I have a hard time thinking that it will be. I think they're going to have to work their way into that over the first couple of weeks of the season. And then they're just going to have to cross their fingers and, pray to the football gods that the offensive line stays healthy. Not that any team has a great backup situation and nobody wants guys to get hurt. But I think they need this entire starting 5 to be the difference maker that they want it to be.